Hello and welcome to episode 1196 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, July 18th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined as always by Justin Mason. Justin, good day, sir.
Good. It is technically afternoon. It
Yes,
was morning a little while ago, but now it is good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you? How was your vacation?
Vacation was really, really nice. Got away. It's usually a location that's extremely hot too, and like we only had one day over 90.
Oh,
Literally, like the day we left, like they hit 105.
oh,
Um,
wow.
so just really lucky, really beautiful. Nice to like tune out of baseball. Of course, that means like the moment I got back, like I was just inundated with.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote 4 articles yesterday. Like I just, I probably wrote
Word a
like,
day.
yeah, I probably wrote like 8,000 to 9,000 words.
Are you sure you're not 22 still?
I feel like I am sometimes, or at least I'm keeping the hours. I don't feel like I'm 22. I'm fucking
Yeah, you
exhausted,
you
but like,
you
yeah,
have the behaviors of one in the body of
the
yourself, but
the only thing my history degree was good for was being able to write a lot of words very quickly. Like that is the
I mean,
only thing
yeah,
my history degree has been useful
we,
for.
we both have history degrees, and we write and talk a bunch, and those are probably about the only two things
You know
that
what it's not good for?
what's that?
Immaculate grid. I suck at
Oh,
immaculate
really?
grid. I am a You would think someone who loves baseball as much as me and
Yeah,
loves history as much as me would know baseball history,
I'm surprised. I really
but
am.
it's not the part of history I've studied, and I am atrocious at it. Like
I gotta
I
say,
fail it every day. Like because I
I'm
don't
pretty good.
cheat.
No,
Like I think I have gotten it like maybe 3 or 4 times in the 3 or 4 weeks I've been doing it. Like there's always one where I go, man, that guy for sure was on
oh
the
yeah, dude.
Cardinals and the Jays.
I
Like,
definitely had some for sure's that didn't come through. I'm like, that. This is my stone cold answer, so I'll
mm,
put this one in, and then it's wrong. Like Bob Feller for 300 wins. I didn't know he was such a loser, so he didn't
mm-hmm.
get 300 wins. I'm pretty good at it though. I'll brag a little bit. There's nothing worth bragging about as far as that goes, but I'm pretty good at it. And I will say the OTP job really helps because
Mm-hmm.
creating the content. Looking up different players on their B refs all the time. I pick up random stuff that will be viable for the next day's grid out of nowhere. And then people will be like, why did you put him? And I'm like, well, there's an OOTP card coming out of him next week. So I was fully engrossed in Chris Capuano's, page or something. So that's why I knew that he was available for the Brewers and Yankees like he is on today's board. And I just used him. So yeah, I love Immaculate Grid. But let's talk some news. A lot of news did happen. And then we're going to do 3 up, 3 down with some breakouts and I guess, flops for us here in the second half. Let's start with Avisail Garcia. I changed the board on you there a little bit because I just saw some news for today about a couple rehabs starting up. Avisail Garcia is the first, and then we'll get into Trevor Story. Garcia has disappointed in Miami without a doubt. If I'm being honest, I think a lot of people kind of saw that coming. Leaving Milwaukee, Hitters Park for Pitchers Park, kind of flawed skills already. Good, not great player going into his 30s. Like I said, he's been a stone cold flop. Only 22 games this year of no good work for Avisal Garcia. Soler's gotten on track. Ken Garcia, and are you interested in the deeper formats for Avisal Garcia once he returns?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a good player whenever he's been healthy. It's
Except
been
last,
that.
well, I guess last year he wasn't healthy. In
Yeah, he
fairness, you
wasn't
did use you
healthy,
did use
so
that caveat. Yes.
like I mean, so like I think he should return to being a pretty good player. I know he wasn't playing well when he was healthy earlier this year, but he was also running a 233 BABIP.
Yeah. 76
So
plate appearances too.
and
No time for that to like
the nice thing
smooth out.
about Miami is they're actually good. Like they're actually
I know.
like surprisingly, like we've talked about like the Reds a bunch, like how like exciting they are and kind of out of nowhere. And but like I don't think Miami gets enough credit for just how good
Totally
they've been
agree.
in one of the toughest divisions in baseball. I mean, the Phillies were in the World Series last year. The Braves are amazing.
Hmm.
Um,
And imagine
the
if Avisel comes back and hits. Their biggest need is hitting. So what if he comes back and pops off?
Yeah.
Like, how great would that be for them, let alone
mhm.
obviously fantasy interest? But yeah, I think I'd take a look where I need a hitter because I just don't think he's going to be very expensive. And you can probably go get him off of waiver wires right now because he was likely cut in a lot of formats because of the underwhelming performance that Avisal Garcia has put up. So I would take a look. I can't imagine that they would do anything but put him right back in the lineup playing pretty much every day upon his return. Now, question is, are you moving since Jazz is still out or out again, I guess, since he came back briefly?
Mhm.
Does Sanchez go to center, Avi to right, and Soler stay at DH, right? Does that sound
Ugh.
right? Because Dane Myers is playing center right now. And you might be inclined to say who, and I would say that that's fair, but Dane Myers is playing
He's been
center.
playing well.
He has
He's been
been playing
playing
pretty well.
well. The question for me is, can Jesus Sanchez actually play center? I would.
Can Jazz?
Brian De La Cruz can. He's
No,
played.
I was implying that Jazz
Oh
regularly
no,
plays center, and so they're not that
he never
concerned.
should have played center. I've
I
already
know.
ranted
I was
about
trying
this.
to rile you up. There you
I've
go.
already ranted about this. Like,
I
he
know.
should
I know. I was
never.
just
I guess Sanchez has
re-riling you.
played a few games at center. So
Yeah, DLC and Sanchez can get in there. Either way, I think Dane Myers, if you're running him for any reason, like in a super deep, like an NL only, his days are numbered. He might go back to being like a fourth outfielder, but his days are numbered as a starter. So get that 444 average while you can on
he
his 536
probably
BABIP.
he probably goes back down.
He probably does, but if it were me, I would DFA Garrett Hampson and keep.
Oh, they can always
So-
option Garrett Hampson. Hampson's
Well,
got
that's
an
true.
option left,
They
so.
don't have to DFA him. I see that he does have an option left. So anyway, Trevor Story is probably the more interesting of these. He's being held in a lot of spots, but there will be some availability. In fact, in NFBC, he'll be available because he was never drafted, right? In main events because
I can't imagine he
his
was
injury
drafted.
was well in time for everyone to know not to draft him. So he'll be available as a waiver bid, and I think that'll create a little frenzy for the week that it happens. How interested are you going to be in Trevor's Story? Is it going to depend fully on this rehab, or are you going to be in because he's Trevor freaking Story, so you're in regardless?
I think you've got to be in regardless, right? Like, I just can't imagine there's. He is not available in any of my leagues, so which means he wasn't drafted in any of my outside of DC's.
Because why would you hold? Why would you try to hold?
But there's always. I mean, how many people? How many leagues is Mondesi like? Still being rostered, like much less like.
Frankly, Ellie De La Cruz was drafted in leagues too because people thought that maybe he would.
Tristan Strand was drafted in a number of leagues as well.
That's fair, but nobody took the plunge on Story. I think because early it seemed like he might be out for the entire year, and now here he is, on track to maybe play for 7-8 weeks. Now, here's the thing. Money's drying up everywhere. I think Zach Waxman's been doing analysis on main event bidding. I don't know if this permeates across the fantasy community. Maybe they aren't following the trends of the NFBC. But let's say you're running more of like the 300 max sort of range out of $1,000, and you're in need of offense. Where are you going on Story? Does he merit, say, a lofty triple-digit bid? Or do you take your shot at a lower price, and if people want to go crazy, you let them? I think I do lean toward the latter there. Where do you come out on the bid type or the bid amount for Trevor Story?
I mean, you have to think about. I mean, obviously, like this is different depending on your league context and size, right? Like, but let's say if we're talking like 15-team leagues, or even 12-team leagues, what prospect is going to come up that hasn't already come up that is going to be better than a healthy Trevor Story?
Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's more, do I need the money for the churning down the stretch?
Yeah.
More than what Story might do, because we don't know, right? He wasn't great last year. I agree with going for him, right? Because even in his down year, he's a league average power speed guy. He went 16 homers, 13 steals, and 396 plate appearances last year for Trevor Story. So he's going to be power speed on a quality team in a good, on a quality lineup at least.
Yeah, at a position that has not been easy this year, and I assume he'll go back to playing shortstop, right? So he'll gain shortstop eligibility, which has not been nearly as good of a position as we had expected it to be.
Yeah, because he's second base only outside of, unless your league has some specialty rules, because he didn't play any shortstop last year. 94 games at second, 138 at short back, and 21 for Story. So yeah, that's an interesting factor as well. And who are they playing at short every day right now?
They were playing Enrique Hernandez.
Yeah, they don't have an everyday guy.
Just came back, yeah.
That's the whole thing. They don't have it. So yeah, Story will go back there. Again, every situation is going to be different. I grant that, but if I'm sitting with like 300 something and I'm kind of like my league leader in Fab, which 300 might get you there, I think I kind of talk myself the other way. I might go more of like the 130, 150, because I still think that's enough the rest of the way. Let's say he comes back in mid-August, so you're trying to get him for 6 weeks. Go 150 on Trevor Story, and then you have 150 for the remaining 6 weeks. That's still a good spot to be in, right?
I want to have probably about $50 entering September.
So that's 150 in mid-August. That's definitely in line with where you'd want. So maybe you would even go up to 200 to secure Story.
Yeah, I think I would. Okay. I mean, I just don't know that there's going to be that many. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of like who like the top tier prospects
I was just looking on the leaderboards. I don't see it.
Lawler maybe makes a September debut.
Yeah, maybe someone comes out of nowhere a bit and beats the timeline, and all of a sudden is.
And obviously, this depends on like what your greatest need is. Like if your greatest need is if your greatest need is pitching, then you're probably waiting on like Ben Brown or somebody like that to come.
Whoever pops off in the summer.
But like like for instance, I've got in my auction league, my NFBC auction league, where I am in the top 10 overall. I could use some offense. Like my pitching is great, or it's pretty darn good.
What kind of money you got?
I got $174.
Okay.
Like I can reasonably put a $90 bid on Story when it comes up.
If you're comfortable managing that down the stretch, and you think you can live with a bunch of weeks that are single digit bid weeks, which you can, by the way, because again, I think they're spending. This is more main event focused because that's all I have the data for. So your league might be different, but across these NFBC leagues, people are bidding more. Dollars are so things have to come down eventually, right? The money is starting to run out. There was only one guy in my league last week that was bid over $18, and it was Brady Singer, who went for 42. And frankly, it was a little bit of an overpush because $3 was the backup bid.
Yeah.
So, was that you bidding on Singer?
My main event, you know what the top bid was? Because my main event's been crazy with the bidding. It was $12.
Yeah. See, this
was the top bid. The second highest bid was $8 on Dane Myers, the aforementioned Dane Myers.
The aforementioned.
I spent $5 on Graham Ashcraft. That league
I like that pickup, by the way.
There is someone in my league who has $0 left. Like they have.
I mean, I believe it.
Mike the Mouth has $0 left.
I like bids have been up this year. We got 2 single-digit guys in my main, a 21, a 57, a couple more below 100.
I have $143 my main event left out of 1,000.
I got one.
And I have the third most amount of Fab.
Okay, I have 109 and I'm in the bottom half. That's nuts. We have a 413 and then it's 172 and below, so it's a pretty tight group.
We have 282, Dusty with 263.
Okay.
Me 143.
That's
and then
crazy that you're third.
Only 6 people with $100 or more.
Wow, that's nuts. So your league will dictate that. You should probably go pretty big for Story, though, if you need offense, and that's just your biggest need, because he can go crazy for 6 to 7 weeks, and that could be huge. He could flop, too, but it is going to be your best chance at getting high-impact offense based on what we know. Let's talk about a couple recalls. Grayson Rodriguez is called back up, and he did debut yesterday. We weren't able to pod yesterday because you don't have air in your office, and if we couldn't do it before...
It was 96, 97 degrees yesterday, and
we're not doing that in the afternoon and killing you. There's no need to watch a live death on a podcast. So we punted till today, and we're getting it done. But he did go yesterday. Grayson Rodriguez did, and it wasn't a great outing statistically. 4 runs in 5 innings against the Dodgers, but I watched that outing. 3 of the runs came in the last inning. I don't really think he should have been brought back out for the sixth. I'm usually more for pushing guys. I think where he's been so far this year, you give him a nice dub. Not saying he would have necessarily gotten the actual W, but you give him a nice outing to go off of 5 innings, 1 run against the Dodgers for Grayson Rodriguez, and you just leave it at that. Pushing him that extra inning was kind of annoying to me, and I think they made a mistake there. But he did pitch pretty well, and he was brilliant in the minors, Justin. So, do you think what's the likelihood that Grayson Rodriguez is a second half game changer on the pitching landscape after what he did in those 7 AAA starts, put up a 169 ERA with 54 Ks in 37 innings, and a decent first look back so far? Grayson Rodriguez, where you at?
I think he's a pretty good bet to if I was taking a bet on a guy that, especially a rookie pitcher, to have like a real breakout in the second half, I think you've got to go with a guy like Grayson Rodriguez. I mean, the top pitching prospect in all of baseball coming into the year. The park is amazing. I advocated people sitting him this week because you had the Dodgers and Tampa Bay. The 2 best teams in baseball, or at least 2 of the best teams in baseball. But I think he's a full go after this, and I think he should be rostered in every format. I can't imagine he's available in too many, but if for some reason, or maybe someone goes, hey, I'm going to try to sell high on him before, they held on to him. Now they try to flip him now that he's back. I would totally buy at whatever price, because I think he has the potential to be a top 40 starter rest of the way. And that's just really hard to find in this day, in this era. Remember when we thought pitching was going to be really, really deep coming into the year?
Home runs, man. The home runs are up, and
injuries. So many injuries just cut off like a third of the field right there.
Yeah, I mean, most of the Tampa Bay Rays got cut off from it. So no, you're totally right on that. It has made things wild out there. I don't have Grayson Rodriguez. Oh, actually, I didn't rank him because he wasn't called back up yet. I would probably have Grayson Rodriguez. You said top 40. That's certainly possible. My ranking would probably be more top 60. I would have him in this group with like a Reese Olson, Clark Schmidt, Cutter Crawford type, and that's in the late 50s, early 60s.
I think that's probably right in terms of where you actually rank him. I just think he's got more upside than all those guys. I don't think he's going to be top 40. I think he has the ability to be top 40 the rest of the way.
Yeah, you don't start him there with your rank.
Yeah.
You put him a bit lower, but that there's a green arrow next to Grayson Rodriguez, and I totally agree there. I sent you my pitcher rankings if you want to reference them at any point during this show, by the way. Oswald Peraza was recalled. Now, I was on the Peraza train, coming into the season over Volpe, and obviously I've been proven wrong on that. Volpe is the one that's up and playing. He hasn't exactly been a god, but he has the PT, he has the 13 homers and 16 steals. But Peraza's going to get another chance here. He hasn't done anything in 44 plate appearances, of note. That's a tiny sample. But in AAA, 12 homers, 11 steals, and an 847 OPS. How interested are you in Peraza for the Yankees?
I'm pretty interested because I think Josh Donaldson's done for the year.
He thinks he might be. And if we usually say be careful with what players say because they're way too optimistic. If he's saying he might be cooked, then you know that something bad's going on with.
Is that Josh Donaldson's career?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Right? He's 37. He's going to be 38 at the end of the year.
And I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him either.
He's had a plethora of injuries, and he's not like a great clubhouse guy either. He's not the guy you bring in to
Not Johnny Gomes.
No,
right.
No,
Johnny Gomes had that vibe. Everyone loved him. Steve Pearce seemed to have a good vibe. Teams, at least the AL East teams, loved him. So yeah, you're right about that with Donaldson too. So that's not going to endear him to hanging on. So I think it could be Peraza's super available. Where are you getting him? You getting him on 15s only, deep and deeper, or any 12 love if he's playing every day?
If he's playing every day, I think he's probably still a 15-teamer. Here's the thing, I mean. If you need speed, he's got speed. He's
literally what I'm about to say next.
I mean, he stole 35 bases between the majors and minors last year. So
he's already got 4 this year in those 44 plate appearances for Oswald
Peraza. So if you need speed in a 12, I can totally understand it.
Yeah.
The hard part is I don't know what the batting average is going to look like.
It could be ugly.
And how
It
much
could
does he
absolutely be.
run if he ends up? I mean, are the Yankees gonna get healthy at some? I was gonna say like the Yankees have to get healthy at some point. Like, do they though?
Do
Like,
they
this is
though?
the
Yeah.
Yankees. Like, and
One
so
thing I'll
like, I
say
mean, I
about
guess he could hit high.
Yeah, one
You
thing I'll say
know,
about him too is he takes walks. Peraza does, so he gets
yeah,
those
that's
extra
true.
on base opportunities to steal. He has 15 total in 260 plate appearances between majors and minors. Most of those are at the minors, but still, he does run. I agree with that. 12 teamers. If you need speed, you can look at Peraza. If you're just looking for general offense, you can probably find somebody a bit better right now. Maybe even this guy. Let's transition into some call ups.
Also, I just want to mention,
Go ahead.
Bron's 3 games away from having third base eligibility.
That's huge. That's another reason to take a look then, because that can really change how valuable he is.
If you really need speed and you can get that from third
from
base,
CI. Yep.
yeah.
That's exactly it. Totally agree. But this, if you just need power from the corner, you might go for this guy. We got Christian Incarnacion Strand finally called up. I know people have been waiting. There simply hasn't been that much room. Then Votto came back and he started raking. But you know what? It just became too much. So now he is called up and he's up. And where's he going to play, Justin? He DH'd yesterday, batted seventh. It was against Logan Webb, so that's righty.
Mm-hmm.
So is that encouraging that he batted DH there? The sit was Spencer Steer. That's not going to happen very often.
I mean, and this is something we're going to talk about. I mean, I guess we talk about it now. We don't need to talk about it later. The Reds got to trade somebody, probably a couple somebodies.
Nah, just one somebody. You don't want to go trading all your depth and then you get a couple injuries and you're super fucked.
They've got so much
somebody.
depth.
No, I agree. So what kind of move are you looking to do? Because in your 3 down, you put Reds hitters, by the way.
Yeah, and it's not really Reds hitters. It is a Reds hitter or maybe 2 Reds hitters. I'm thinking Jonathan India gets traded for a starting pitcher somewhere.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
He'd really look good in Miami Marlins uniform. Kind of shoring up helping shore up the middle of that defense a little bit. Though I mean, India's not necessarily a great defensive player or anything.
But neither is Luis Ariz, and they're playing
exactly
every damn day.
So, I mean, they've got it. There's too many bodies for all these players now. Incarnacion Strand, like, I don't think he's as safe as prospect as maybe other prospects. So like he could easily show in the next 2 weeks that he's not ready for the major leagues.
Sure.
Like if he's striking out too much, but he has made gains in strikeouts this year in the minor leagues. You do wonder, and you've mentioned this a few times with other guys, like the increased walk rate, like how much is that of teams just pitching around him?
Oh, you know what? I heard more on that too. The automatic ball system is causing a lot of it as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just that teams can be. Bottom line is, be skeptical of any major walk improvement from a guy who's never really walked. There's multiple reasons that it might be Sketchville.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's one of those guys. Like, there's not going to be a lot of guys like this. If you need power, like he has got legit 70 grade power. Question is like, what a strikeout's going to be like. Can your batting average take that hit? But like he should play every day. Like there's no reason he shouldn't be playing every day.
So is our Incarnacion Strand just gonna give everyone a day off and like rotate things like that? Because again, Steer's not gonna be out very often. He's a stud.
Yeah, I mean Steer's been playing some outfield. I think Will Benson takes a big hit.
It sucks, dude. He's finally cooking.
Yeah, I know. But this is why I think like I could see them trade 2 guys. Like if they trade 1 or 2 guys, all of a sudden all the pieces fit together a little bit better. But I can't. They're not bringing Incarnacion Strand up to not play. He's going to play.
It's a short side platoon.
Like, yeah.
No, that's definitely fair. You know what it could also hurt is supplemental Tyler Stevenson plate appearances at first or DH.
Oh no, that's over. That's between Votto and Strand and Ellie De La Cruz and everybody else like that. Those days are gone.
Especially because he's just not hitting well enough to justify it. If he's putting up a 125 WRC plus, maybe that's one thing, but no. Okay, so with an Incarnacion Strand, now what kind of do you break the bank on him? Sorry, I'm like
if you need power,
I'm talking. You think you break the bank?
I think you might need to. Like
I think you push, but this kind of player type Like Mike
It's
Ford
risky.
got hot. I would be careful breaking
I
the
picked
bank.
up Mike Ford this week.
Hey, he had been absolutely blazing. Vogelbach had periods where he's blazing hot. Incarnacion Strand is a better player than both those guys, but it's that same all or nothing power
He also
profile.
plays in the best power ballpark
Yes, he does.
in
Which
baseball. Like, I
you know how
mean,
I feel about the Reds. I don't necessarily agree with your Reds hitters' fate. I get your general premise though, but
yeah.
I love this park. So that yeah, look, I'm gonna be interested. I just might not break the bank if my money is running low. If I'm in the big hammer position, I think I will use that hammer on this nail, meaning I have the most money by a lot. But if I'm just, you know, poor the way I am in my main event, I'm gonna go with a more tempered bid on Christian
I mean,
Encarnacion Strand.
here becomes a big question. It's like, okay, so for instance, that auction league I was referencing,
Mm-hmm.
I need power. Like, I need power more than I need speed. Do I even wait for Story, or do I just say like,
I
here's
think you
the
push for somebody
here's the
like this.
dude? Because I mean, Story may need the entire 20 days of the
Yep.
rehab assignment. So now we're pushing into mid August, or well, at least early August. And is Story able to play every day, or would you rather take the gamble that, I mean, 20 days of Incarnacion Strand could be 10 home runs or 6 home runs.
Absolutely.
Like that's a big deal. Um, it's a
I play more for the here and now guys, so I'd
I
be
do too.
inclined to go more for CES, Christian Encarnacion Strand, than I would to wait on Story because we also have no idea what Story's going to be. You know, he's coming off of injury. Encarnacion Strand's coming from the minors, which that makes him sketchy too, but sketchy in a different, more bankable way as far as I'm
Mm-hmm.
concerned. So I would go that route. What about one of these two routes? This is a power or a speed guy. We've got Tyler Soderstrom. He's the power guy. Or Zach Geloff. He's the speed guy. Both for Oakland, both coming up. I got to imagine they're there to play. Like, what the hell would you call these guys up for? Soderstrom is a fake catcher. He might have catcher eligibility in
Mm-hmm.
your league, but the dude does not catch, which is great. Non-catching catchers are wonderful. This is probably going to be the only year he's ever qualified for catcher in fantasy. Meanwhile, Geloff has been the everyday second baseman since getting called up. Let's start with Soderstrom, especially in comparison to Encarnacion Strand. Is it something of a don't break the bank on CES when you can get Soderstrom for pennies, or he's much more volatile in a dog shit lineup in a dog shit park? Pay the premium for Encarnacion Strand. Where do you line up on that Soderstrom versus CES?
Okay, so Soderstrom is catcher eligible in Yahoo.
I
He is
got it.
not
Yeah.
catcher eligible in ESPN.
Okay.
So he's only
And
first base
is
eligible.
only first base eligible in NFBC as well.
NFBC.
So
Yeah.
you know what's interesting about that? If you look at his player profile, I'm going to send you this screener. It says catcher, but then his eligible draft positions does not have catcher. I'll show you what I mean here. In like the
Interesting.
bio part of it, you would think, oh, he's a catcher. And then they're like, psych. Check out that little bit.
That is some teasing right
They
there.
scammed us. So okay.
Yeah.
So where he's not catcher eligible, Soderstrom versus CES. Where are we at?
I mean, it's CES. I don't think it's particularly close. But Soderstrom has the more safe role. I
Yes,
mean,
because
like,
he's playing every
if
day
if
off
you
rip.
yeah, if you tell me that one of these guys is still the everyday, an everyday player in the majors as of September 1st, I'm gonna bet on Soderstrom. So
100 out of 100 times. Yep.
so like if you need the power in that kind, I picked him up in a number of leagues this last week.
Were they all? What was the mix of catcher eligible versus not?
They're not in.
Okay, so no catcher eligibility for Soderstrom, and you were picking him
Yeah,
up still. I
yeah. I
imagine
mean, he had
for
it says
very cheap.
seven. I think I'm for $17 in my auction.
Nothing wrong with that. Out of 1,000.
And like I said, I need power. And so like it made a lot of sense. And
Mm-hmm.
but like it. Geloff, is it Geloff?
I think it's Geloff.
Geloff.
Geloff,
I mean,
his
he's
brother, by the way.
he's the exact he's got the exact same kind of path to playing time, but it's just a completely different profile, right? Like he's
Yeah,
done
second base, total speed.
And so like he's already stolen two bases.
I scooped him This is my
Yeah,
big pickup of the week. I need speed like you wouldn't believe.
yeah. I picked him up in other leagues, like my main event league. I need speed. I don't need power.
He did have
So
12 homers at AAA, but it's the PCL, so I want
yeah.
to temper people on expecting that. You're hoping for speed with a non-destructive batting average, which it could be, because he had a 28% K rate and a 410 BABIP that helped him to a 304 average despite that K rate. And so far in the majors, it's been 31% on the swing and miss strikeout rate for
Yeah.
Zach Geloff.
They play in Vegas for their AAA.
Exactly.
So it's an absolute launching pad for those who don't know. So
But he is
I would
20
not,
for 25 on the stolen bases at least.
yeah. He's fast. The A's have shown with guys like Grayson Rodriguez that they are willing to run, because that's the only way they can manufacture offense for the most part. So
They have not figured out how to steal first. I had to do a
still
steal first.
still trying to figure that one out.
Third in SBs behind Tampa Bay and Cincinnati, two quality teams with 96. Those two have 114 and 113. So the A's are pretty interesting there with those two call-ups. What about these two Pirates guys? Endy Rodriguez, another non-catching catcher potentially, but he does have catcher eligibility, and Leover Peguero, who I accidentally put as Liver Peguero. What do you think? What do you think of these two Pirates here? Let's start with Endy Rodriguez because he got some preseason love as potentially somebody who could make the team. Because us in the fantasy world were like, they're not going to use Austin Hedges and whoever the hell else they had backing him
They
up.
absolutely will.
But Jason DeLay, but they absolutely will because those guys are defensive gods. But they finally cut some chaff that had been up in the majors, including my boy Rodolfo Castro. I'm going to take an L on that one because guys like Nick Gonzalez, Henry Davis, and now Endy Rodriguez and Leover Peguero are up. Rodriguez is catching, so it looks like he won't be a non-catching catcher. He's just going to catch. How much interest do you have in him in one catcher formats? Does he
not much?
Okay, so two catcher. How about 15 and 12?
I think it becomes more interesting in two catcher leagues because Endy Rodriguez is a good catcher, which is one of the reasons why I think was higher on a lot of real life prospect lists than maybe in some fantasy lists. And I think he was a little bit too high on some fantasy lists to begin with because he doesn't really have a carrying tool in fantasy. He doesn't have prodigious power. He doesn't have a ton of speed. I don't think he's going to hit for like a really high batting average.
Yep.
But I don't think he's going to be bad in any particular category. And so he can be a viable C2 in a lot of leagues because he's not going to hurt you and he's going to help you a little bit in every category. The problem is when we talk about guys who are sum of all parts, as I like to kind of talk about them, they need volume, and you don't get volume as a catcher.
No,
right?
That's true. Yeah, they need to be an accumulator. So it'd almost be better if Endy was a non-catching catcher because while he isn't terrible behind the dish, he does play some second and outfield, which you would hope would get that non-catching catcher.
I don't think he's going to here.
They're not going to do that, though. They have too many guys, including Henry Davis, who they've already taken out from behind the dish. So Endy is up to catch. You're right. I misspoke there, remembering some of the previous things he had done outside from behind the dish. But now it looks like he's up to catch full-time with Austin Hedges backing him up. So, I mean, there is C2 viability, but don't go crazy here because I agree with you on the accumulation factor.
He's probably, just look at the projections rest of the way. ATC's got him for 5 home runs and a 264 batting average and 1 stolen base. That's fine as a C2, especially in a 15-team league, but that's not winning you your league. What he does do, this is the epitome of a guy that should be rostered in probably every 12 and 15-team two-catcher league. But he doesn't need to necessarily be on your team. He just should be rostered.
Easily have 2 catchers, especially with the infusion of catchers, right? You might have gotten in on, something where
Jonah Heim.
Jonah Heim.
Diaz. I'm not the questions I got were, should I drop Wilson Contreras or should I drop MJ Melendez? Absolutely not. Yeah.
Would you drop my boy Stevenson?
I think that is pretty lateral, and I'd rather have the better park.
Yeah, I wouldn't come close to doing that. What about Shea Bangaliers?
if the
sub
batting
200
average, if the batting average is killing you, then yes, that is a lateral move that I think, because I think
A lateral move
Langoliers
with a
is
different makeup, right? Like maybe the same dollar value, but the way they get there is different.
exactly. I think Langoliers is going to have more power and probably play more. But the batting, when you're playing more and that batting average is bad, it actually hurts you more. So
That's true.
Like
That's true.
if batting average is an issue for you, especially because of Langoliers, then yes, I would make that move.
Okay. What about Leo Figueroa, the middle infielder that's coming up, taking Rodolfo Castro's spot? He started at short each of his first 2 games, one righty, one lefty. He's a righty himself, batting 9th. Doesn't do anything particularly special. You mentioned how Endy doesn't have a unique carrying tool. That's the same for Figueroa, but 13 homers, 21 steals in AAA, which is in Indianapolis. Actually, triple and double A. Pardon me. He did the bulk of it at AA as a 22-year-old. So that tamps it down a little bit. 11 of the 13 homers and 19 of the 21 steals. He spent a week at AAA. They're like, you did well enough. Come on up. Interesting plate profile. Makes some decent contact. but is Leo Figueroa making the grade anywhere for you? 15 teams, or does it have to be even deeper than that? NL only type deal.
No, I mean, I think he's a placeholder.
Okay, let's not spend too much time on him then. Leo Figueroa's placeholder.
G1 Bay is going to be back here pretty soon, and then we're also expecting O'Neill Cruz to be back in August at some point. So, I think at best you're getting maybe a month's worth of part. I think Figueroa is a super utility guy at the major league level. I don't think he is a.
Better
I don't think he is
for sure.
Yeah, because he's not good defensively anywhere. Really.
No, not like
he's passable.
He can handle it by playing everywhere, but not really want to be put anywhere.
And if you're one of those guys, I want you to be like Daniel Murphy, where you've got a really good stick, and he doesn't.
He does not. I agree. That's Leo Figueroa.
He's more John
Pittsburgh.
A little bit slower version of John Birdie.
Yes, that's a good way. Maybe a little bit more pop, but still pretty underwhelming, and can occasionally spike some things. Brendan Rodgers is going to go out on rehab. He's missed the whole year, so he's going to be available everywhere. I know you've never been a huge fan, but it's a piece of Colorado that you can maybe get late. Is there any interest in a returning Brendan Rodgers when he gets back from rehab?
Well, give me 1 second, because I got to look something up, because I do have a really big interest in Brendan Rodgers if it means he gets enough plate appearances where our board bet is live.
Oh, that's right. So just while you're looking that up, I will point out that he's going to take the long route. He's starting at high A. He's going to do the whole, kind of take it through all the levels.
No. We said minimum 500 plate appearances.
That's right. Okay, so he can never get there. So, yeah, he's going to take the long route. So you don't care. I do think that there should be some interest here. Let me see something real quick about their home games. Obviously, I can only get what they've got right now. I don't know when he's going to be back, but you only have 20 days on a rehab.
Yeah.
So you got to come back up at some point. They've played. Wait a minute. Oh, that was last year. I'm such an idiot. I was like, they played 81 games at home, Justin. I'm so dumb. I was looking at last year. They have 34 left at home. So do the Rockies. So in fact, 34 home and away. So it's dead even split right now for the Rockies.
Here's the thing. This is a guy who, and I'm gonna let's even give him a modicum of health, right? Let's say injury aside, I'm not worried about injury, right?
Okay.
Necessarily, I'm not worrying about him getting injured and missing more time. What I am worried about is he is a one-dimensional player, even when healthy, right? He offers zero speed at all, right? He is batting average and some power. He's coming off of a shoulder injury, which tends to sap power to begin with. So even if he's playing and quote unquote healthy, it may take him a while to redevelop that power anyways. So now you're banking on a guy who's a career 260 something hitter, a career 266 hitter, empty batting average at 266. If I want empty batting average, I want 280 plus.
Yeah. You need more if you're getting nothing else.
I understand, there will be people who I'm picking it. He plays in Colorado, and he's gonna play every day once he's back. I don't know that there's enough fantasy juice, especially in a shortened season concept.
Sure.
Where we talk about this all the time. How much can this guy move the needle at this point in the season? I don't think he moves it much in any format
We
outside of
pick up-
NL only.
That's fair. We pick up worse for week-long Rocky stints. So I would just say to that respect,
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I'll look at him. But if he creates a frenzy where he comes up to the majors on a Monday, so he wasn't pick-upable, it wasn't rosterable in NFBC until that following Sunday, and he pops off, so the bids are going high, no shot I would go for Brendan Rodgers. But
Especially if he hits like
under the
3
radar-
home runs in
Yeah, that's what I'm
Colorado
saying.
Springs. Like I know he's going to Spokane, which isn't necessarily.
But he's going to
like-
go all the way up, and a bunch of their places.
Yeah,
I
he's
think
going
are
to hit
hitter
Colorado
friendly.
Springs and like Albuquerque or something like that, and all of a sudden he's got 7 home runs in 10 days.
Yeah, don't trick me
I'm
with
not.
that.
No, like for me, like I have no problem. Like if I reel a hole, maybe I do need some batting average. Like BABIP increased batting average in Colorado. Maybe he can hit 300,
Sure.
for a month, and like that really helps. But
only if he comes with no fanfare. If Brendan Rodgers
yeah,
juices his hype to where he becomes an event bid in NFBC, let everyone else blow their money.
yeah.
Let's talk about Zach Neto returning, because he got returned off the IL right when we got back from the All-Star break, which was great, maybe a little bit ahead of schedule. Feel like he was kind of getting into a little bit of a groove right before he went out with the injury, but he was up on a bunch of waiver wires. I ended up picking him up. I'm kind of intrigued by this guy. It hasn't been much since we've seen him, but like he's better than a Brendan Rodgers. 246 average, 7 homers, 5 steals, and 220 plate appearances. I know Trout's out, but there's still viability in this lineup that I want to be a part of where I can. And he's leading off since returning all 4 days, playing against righties and lefties. Are you interested in a pickup of Zach Neto right now? And if so, what formats?
Yeah, I think 12s and 15s for sure.
Yeah.
It was a real rough start to his career. I think he was a little bit overmatched. It was a pretty big jump from AA, only it was like 170 plate appearances between 2 seasons at AA.
It was fast.
So he was just drafted like a minute ago. But you right before the injury, right before the oblique injury, you started to see him really figure things out, and I was starting to go, oh, okay, now I see the James Andersons, Jared Logerhagens, Matt Thompsons of the world, like what they were talking about in terms of liking him, even though he was kind of rushed through the minor leagues.
Exactly.
I think he's going to be really good. I don't think he's going to be like a league winner necessarily, but I think he's going to be a really good shortstop in a year where shortstop has been kind of hard to, figure out for a lot of people. So, I think Neto should be rostered definitely in every 15 and probably most 12s, if not all 12s.
A lot of 12s. There should be a team out there. It's that classic, maybe not your team if you're set, but take a look. Jose Quintana getting activated for the Mets. He's going to be available for bid because he didn't start the year, again, in NFBC because nobody would have been drafting him. Going to have wide availability. Coming off that huge season that he had last year, probably a bit forgotten. Are you interested in Jose Quintana? You've talked throughout the year about how difficult it is to find bankable arms off of the wire. Does Quintana get you going at all after last year's quality work?
Especially at 15, I think it does, right? I mean,
100%.
It's still a good park to pitch in. Like, I know the team has been disappointing, but that team should be better. I say it's about too many teams apparently, but it should be better. I think he's probably a team streamer in 10s and 12s. But in 15s where I'm going to the waiver wire and I'm fighting over Daniel Lynch, in team leagues like that, I picked in Tout Wars, especially because it has unlimited IL. There's nothing available. I fucking regretted throwing money at Yenner Cano this week. He just to have a fucking body. So
just needed an arm there.
I think you could do much worse than he's not one of those guys. I know he had a really, really bad 2021, but and he struggled a few years, a couple years before that too. But he was really good last year. I'm not expecting him to be really good. I'm expecting him to be a 3.9 ERA kind of guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you pick the matchups, and he's not a must start every week, but I think he should be rostered in most leagues, or
Yeah.
at least most. I think he's rostered in every 15. I think he's probably in a lot of 12s. In 10s,
Team streamer
probably not.
viability in a lot of 12s, and maybe a standard streamer in 10s for Jose Quintana.
Yeah.
If the matchups align, he could be a pickup of the week.
He's going
type
up
of
against
guy.
the White Sox this week. Like, I don't have a problem.
Doesn't bother
with that.
me.
Yeah.
I would take a shot there. Shane Bieber heads to the IL. You're not cutting him anywhere, are you?
Oh no, I don't think you can cut him. Like,
I don't think so either. I know a lot of people don't like him though, so I was just checking.
and I'm one of them that doesn't like him, right? Like, but like, I don't think you can cut him. Like,
That's fair.
I do think you should have listened to me when I said sell him, but like, I don't know.
Easier said than done on trading though, to just sell somebody. But 3.77 ERA, 125 WHIP. It hasn't been quote unquote Shane Bieber, but too good to cut.
It also isn't the reason you're losing your league either.
Precisely.
So like, don't be the person's all like sending.
I hate when people do that.
Like, like, this guy lost me my league. No, Alek Manoah lost you your league.
That's a league loser.
But even that, like, I drafted Alek Manoah in TGFBI, and I'm like third in my league, and like,
no single player should really kill your team unless on the very last day of the season, if you needed them to do X, they did Y. You could say that was a team loser. But for the most part, we overrate those. Same with the league winner, by the way. We overrate people on that as well. But yeah, you hold Bieber. I just want to check with Justin on that because, again, he is an Bieber fan there, a believer. Let's go 3 up, 3 down. Let's talk some breakout potential players here in the second half. I want to start with your first guy because I love him. I'm still in, but I'm a little bit mad right now because I benched him for the week facing the Cubs, and he went out and hit a homer every single day, including a pinch hit one. He avoided the lefties, so he didn't do anything against the lefties, but Tristan Casas ended up hitting 3 homers over the weekend, so he's getting going. You like him for a big second half. What do you see?
I see real improvements in his approach at the plate, his ability to make contact in the zone, and his not swinging outside of the zone. And those are what, like, a guy like Casas, he doesn't need to be like 88 or 90% zone contact. But if he's league average, if he is just 85% zone contact and not swing outside of the zone, 35, 40% of the time, then you really have some, because he's got 80 grade power, right? Like, if he's making league average contact in the zone with 80 grade power, like, that's a guy who in a full season can hit 40 plus home runs, and in a half season like we have right now, he could hit 20.
He for sure could. Casas could absolutely rip 20 from here forward.
And what he's been doing over the last 2 months is hitting league average zone contact and not swinging out of the zone too much. And doing everything you want to see from a guy who is a former top 50, top 40 prospect in baseball. And so I think I wrote about him a week or so ago. And I said, like, this is the time to buy. He hit 3 home runs. It may now be too late, but maybe you still can.
Won't
because
be easy, though.
Yeah, like, I think there's a legitimate chance this guy shoves 20 second half home runs, and all of a sudden you're looking at a guy that took you from middle of the pack in homers to the top of the pack, and you're pretty happy.
I hope he does that for me. By the way, I should point out it was 2 righties and a lefty, Steele, Hendricks, and Stroman. But I was like, okay, there's a lefty. Stroman's
2 really good pitchers in there. Like,
that's the thing, and Hendricks is pitching well, so that's why I sat him. I'm just justifying what I did, but I just want to be clear that I gave incorrect data at first. I thought it was 2 lefties.
Who did you start over him?
Spencer Steer, CJ Crone.
Oh,
at first in corner.
Okay. Yeah,
so, and at
who was your
Util, Newbar. I mean, actually, no. Newbar's not my worst guy. Put him in outfield. Nick Prado, so another corner outfielder.
I think that's defensible. Like,
I think Prado had a better setup for the weekend. I don't know if he did a damn thing, but that's what I chose between Prado and Casas. So
it still always hurts to see that on your bench.
It's so painful,
especially when you're working your way back up. And like, it was me with Ranger
it was a guy
Flores.
That's my guy. Like
Yeah.
I was in on Casas. He was a must get at the draft table. I've been sticking with him. I sit him one time and he burns me, but that's
Yeah, it's
okay.
the Ranger Suarez for me a few weeks ago, where I
Yes,
like kept
exactly.
watching him throw gems on my bench. Yeah.
Yes, but I like Ranger Suarez's teammate. Nice segue there,
Mm.
Christopher Sanchez, interesting lefty. I was a little bummed that I didn't start him this week because I didn't know they had an earlier game, and he was on my fence about starting, and I wasn't sure if I was going to. But then he was doing well against Philly to start, and I was like, oh dang it, I really messed up. And then they got 3 runs off of him, and they're like, no, don't worry, you didn't make a big error there. He goes 5 innings, 3 runs, 5 strikeouts, and a walk. But I like the stuff that Sanchez has. I think there are elements here. He's not walking guys. He's got a swing and miss changeup, which I really love on a prospect. Slider and fastball. Fastball's not great, but decent enough from the left side. Gotta avoid the homers, and that's what got him against Philly. Or excuse me, against the Padres. He's on Philly. He has a 1.5 homer 9. That's kind of the one issue here that bothers me a little bit. I wonder if he's trading walks, getting that control up for the home run issue. So command versus control. But there's elements here to be good. And so far in 30 innings, we've seen a 3.26 ERA, .99 whip out of Christopher Sanchez. I think he could be a second half gem for 15 teamers as well as a team streamer and 12 team. What do you think of Christopher Sanchez, the lefty for the Phillies?
Yeah, sometimes when a guy kind of comes up out of nowhere, I don't pay enough attention to him quickly enough. I think this is one of those instances. I wrote Sanchez up as a streaming pick, I think, for this week over on Fantasy Pros and for the Roto Write Up. He gets to play the Brewers, who've been one of the worst teams in baseball against left-handed pitching. So,
God, they've been so bad, dude.
though my streaming record been pretty abysmal this summer after a really hot start to the season. So, probably means he's going to get destroyed this week. So
yeah,
I apologize for that.
Philly start was over the weekend, by the way. I should mention he is in my lineup this week. Sorry, continue on Christopher Sanchez.
So yeah, so you're probably gonna get destroyed.
Please no.
I hope not. But no, I like it. And the question is like, do the Phillies add someone at the deadline?
Yeah.
Is Andrew Painter coming back at some point? But I think Sanchez has done enough where he should be able to stick in the rotation, even if they were to add someone.
Who do you think would go out though? Because Walker and your boy Ranger Suarez have been doing well, so maybe he is susceptible from that end, and that's a good point that I didn't think of, that they could add somebody to oust Sanchez. But wouldn't they be better off maybe adding either a bat or a bullpen piece? I mean, Sanchez could be a bullpen piece too. Though.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Well, they've got 3 lefties in that bullpen already.
Maybe that's a good point.
They've got other needs. Maybe they would address over starting pitching, especially because there's going to be a lot of teams looking for starting pitching. And do they want to, if they don't have that need, like, do they want to pay those prices? So
that's a great call. I think that gives me the most certainty with Sanchez, or the most confidence is that.
I think the question is like, if Andrew Painter does get healthy, which I don't think he's going to, like,
would that
maybe they would use Painter in the bullpen? Like, why would
they should do?
Yeah.
If Painter gets healthy enough to pitch, let him be a 2-inning guy down the stretch as like a stud bridge. I think that would be the right move there.
But not to mention, like, injuries always. I mean, Wheeler's not been the healthiest of guys. Suarez has had injury issues.
Walker's had his issues.
Walker's never been able to stay healthy. So, like, I think Sanchez is in the rotation. I think he is probably a team streamer in 12s. And, like, if he's still available in your 15s, which he was coming into this week, in some, like, he should be on rosters.
Fully agree with that, and I scooped him. I'm happy to have Christopher Sanchez on the team. Let's stay at first base. Head back to your second guy. In fact, we put a lot of first basemen on these upward guys. But Matt Mervis, a guy that we like. Is this a February episode? Matt Mervis being recommended?
Well, no, October episode.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because by February he had been blocked.
Yeah. Like, that's a great point. This is a November episode.
The Cubs are not. The Cubs are sellers, and
yes,
multiple teams have already checked in on Cody Bellinger, and I think Cody Bellinger is what is blocking Matt Mervis from coming back up and being an everyday first baseman. I think when he comes back up, like, I think he's up for good. And so if you were like me and many other people in the industry and were high on Matt Mervis back in October and November, then now is the time, because in 2 weeks' time, Cody Bellinger is not going to be on this team, and Matt Mervis should be. And that's 2 months of a guy who we thought could be a top 150 player in fantasy this year.
Yep.
So if that registers in your league, like, go grab him now and stash him, or grab him next week and stash him, because I think that opening's coming really, really quickly.
That's a good call. I like it. We're still bought in. Yes, he was been a flop relative to the excitement that we had for Matt Mervis coming into the year, but we're not going to quit a guy after 99 plate appearances. It's just not something that we're going to do if we believed in the guy that much. So I'm with you. I co-signed that Matt Mervis, and I like the idea of scooping now. If you can hold, don't waste a spot that you need. But if you have that luxury, take him now, park him, and then when there's a big frenzy for him, you've already got him for $2 or something. Staying at first base, one more, but this guy has first base outfield. But Ryan O'Hearn, I was mentioning that this was a throwback episode for you to be recommending Mervis.
Yeah.
What is this, a 5-year ago episode for me to be recommending Ryan O'Hearn?
You just don't quit on this guy, huh?
I don't, dude. I bought in 2018 when he had a nice little third of a season there where he put up a 153 WRC plus with 12 homers. Since then, I think you can add his WRC plus totals and they don't equal that high. But he put up a 68 WRC plus from 19 to 22. This year, it's up to 136 with 7 homers in Baltimore. 304 average. Strikeout rate is cut. Swinging strike rate's down about 2 points. The walk rate's down too, but maybe he's being more aggressive and finding results there with Ryan O'Hearn, not Matt Mervis. And I like what he's doing here. He's on the proper batting side to not get punished in Camden, being a left-hander. And I think they're going to find playing time for him. And so I think he could be an interesting deep league play. Plus, he has that first base outfield capability. So while he doesn't, he does get occasional outs against lefties, he doesn't sit against every single one. And he bats fourth against righties. So I like Ryan O'Hearn in Baltimore as an interesting deeper league pickup. What do you think?
I think this is really interesting. So he's making less contact in the zone, but he's overcompensated, or he's compensating on that by just swinging more inside the zone. His swing rate in the zone is up to 72.7%, which is a lot. It is a high in-zone swing rate. But it's not coming at the cost of a ton of strikeouts or a ton of swing miss. I think the strikeouts probably do trend upwards here at some point, but not to like an egregious level. I think the question becomes, what do the Orioles do at the deadline? The Orioles have a really exciting young team, and they're only like a game out or so.
One game out
of the division.
Now, you don't think he's going to lose playing time though, right? Because why would they acquire offense?
I don't know what they're going to acquire. I would think they acquire pitching, starting pitching, but they have so much talent already on this roster.
I think they could trade some of it to secure O'Hearn, like a Ryan Mountcastle could go for an arm, right?
What kind of value does Mountcastle have on the market, though? Is
with a lesser team, a 26-year-old who was 30 homer hitter 2 years ago. I mean, his stock is down. He's gone down every year since he's been in the majors. I don't know if they're going to push. Like, they're not going to trade Jordan Westberg.
Could you get like a Jack Flaherty
for Mountcastle?
Is that a kind of
years
deal?
Of control for a rental?
But where does Mountcastle fit in St. Louis?
He doesn't fit with them. I think that would work better on a different team, a Flaherty type substance for a team that could use a hitter. I mean, we have to go back to the Marlins. Who are they playing?
But the Marlins, the Garrett Cooper,
I mean, Mountcastle and Cooper, he's not that different from those.
Yeah, guys. That's the hard part is everybody needs pitching. No one needs cornerbacks.
That's the thing. So maybe that's not. But bottom line is, I don't think O'Hearn is going to be blasted by the deadline in any tangible way. I think he should still be there with his strong side platoon available at the very least. If he loses more of the playing time against lefties for O'Hearn, okay. But I'd be surprised if they found a way to kneecap him when he has an 894 OPS against righties and there's some viability to it.
I'm just trying to figure out what team that has a little bit of pitching could even use a Ryan Mountcastle.
Right?
It's
hard to figure.
I don't see it.
It is really hard to figure.
Could the Cubs trade someone and block Mervis again?
Bro, that would be Hendricks for Mountcastle. No, I don't think they would do that, but frick would that
Jameson
be funny?
Tyon for Mountcastle.
Oh
Like,
my God, tie him back to the Yankees. That would be
well, to the
hilarious.
Orioles, but
Or to
yeah.
the yeah, sorry. I was thinking. I don't know why I was thinking Yankees.
Um,
But yeah, that I think O'Hearn will be safe, so I'm not as worried about that. I am interested to see what the Orioles do though, because they're full contenders. They're fully in this. I don't think they need to go out and get much though. The team's very good. Let's talk about
really
your last
one
guy.
starter. They just need one starter
And I
and
think
like
they should go for like
maybe some
more.
bullpen.
I think they should go for more of a high impact one as opposed to just like a run of the mill.
Get Jordan Montgomery or
That
Lucas
would be nice.
Giolito or like
Maybe trade Cowser for one of those guys.
sure.
Cowser for Giolito.
Yeah. I mean,
Is
it would,
Giolito a rental or is he a year plus?
I think Giolito is a rental.
Free agent 2024, so he's a rental.
Yeah.
But
Like,
I still think Cowser might. I think
somebody wrote an article about Ohtani,
stop it.
but like I don't think anybody's gonna give up
No.
what
You're gonna be asked to give up way too much, which I understand from LA's standpoint for a rental. I just don't think it's gonna be worth it.
yeah.
I just don't think it's gonna be worth it. Let's move on to your next guy, because I think you're anticipating some trade situations here in Kansas City. They've already moved Aroldis Chapman. Could they move Scott Barlow and clear the path for a guy I used to like as a starter?
Me
And
too.
I should have realized how bad he was as a starter. But as a reliever, Carlos Hernandez back on the landscape. 46 and 2/3 innings with a 29% K rate, 7% walk, and 15% swinging strikes. So very backable, very believable strikeout rate here. He's throwing 99, 386 ERA, 101 whip. This looks like there's some legitimacy. And like I said, you're anticipating, by including him here, I imagine you're anticipating a Barlow departure.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Carlos Hernandez.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, Barlow has been a constant name in trade rumors
For like 12 years.
Yeah, for like at least the last 2 or 3 seasons. I just wonder if like we saw Kansas City trade Aroldis Chapman already. They should try and trade. Barlow has another year of control.
Absolutely.
They should. But he's 30. He's going to be 31 at the end of the year. Like they should try to trade him now and get, because like I said, the prices on starting pitching and relief pitching are going to be really high.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a number of teams that could use could you imagine him as the Dodgers closer? Like, I mean,
I could totally see it, but I don't want it as an Evan Phillips guy. But yes.
Yeah, but I mean, there's going to be a team that, like, you know, there are a number of teams that are looking for, you know, a legit closer, and Barlow can be that guy. And if he is moved, then I think Carlos Hernandez is the only guy in the pen that I care about. Like, I
totally agree with that.
I look at the rest of this pen and I go, like, again, we could play Congressman or
100%.
You know,
we would fool everybody.
Jose Cuis, Congressman.
Dude, no, he's getting a lot. No, he's getting a lot of things done in Arizona in that one district over there. He's been really.
You know, Taylor Clark might be of the 2nd district in Vermont. I mean,
I think he got ousted though. He's up for re-election, I think. Because he didn't take his campaign seriously.
And Dylan Coleman is for sure from Tennessee. Like, I just think that
it's the Coleman family. It's lineage there. He basically is granted it. He's a.
We got to play that game again.
We do. We really do, because
you know what we should do? We should get Ellen Adair on and have her talk about the actors strike. Give them some love, and she's not doing anything right now, right? We could play a little, talk about some Phillies, and play a little bit of Congressman or relief pitcher.
This is one of your better ideas. I absolutely love it. I also love the Carlos Hernandez scoop. For my last one, I'm debating if I want to change or stick with the guy I have listed. I like the guy I have listed, which is Geraldo Perdomo. I'll give you the name. I don't know if I fully believe. Surge.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm going to argue, even though I like Geraldo Perdomo, I'm going to argue he's not going to, because I think the Diamondbacks can bring someone in, or they bring someone up. We already talked about Jordan Lawler. That could take away Perdomo's playing time. So give me a different guy.
So I think I will pivot, because as much as I do like him, I am nervous. You know what? I might go a little bit bigger name here. I think Willy Adames can pop off.
Oh, love this.
He gets going, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a bit up and down. You know, the batting average is 212. That's terrible. But 16 homers, power's still there. And again, when he gets dialed in, he really dials in. I just don't believe in him as a 210 type hitter. You know, he didn't hit that low when he struggled in Tampa Bay and he couldn't see very well. 236 BABIP. You know how I don't just play BABIP and say that's it, that's all. That is a big reason for this. Now, he isn't striking the ball as well over the entire season, and he is a fly ball guy, Willie Adames. But I think we're going to see a surge from him where that BABIP goes up, even if it's more in line with last year's 278 as opposed to Willie Adames' 312 career BABIP. All we need is like a 240 average, and I'll take that all day. I think he can hit 15 homers down the stretch. So I'll pivot to Willie Adames. I always love that park as well, and I think that he'll be free and clear rest of the season to pop off. And would you believe, Justin, that Willie Adames is available in probably more 12s than you think?
Oh, okay.
Lot
He
of
shouldn't
10s. And I agree. 79% at Yahoo, so that's not terrible. But even 21% available, I think it should be closer to like 98% roster. I still fully believe in Adames.
Absolutely. He's been one of the unluckiest hitters in baseball this year.
Mm-hmm.
His 212 batting average is got a 244 XBA. If he had a 244 average right now, we wouldn't be talking about him.
100% roster at that point.
His X slug is 463 compared to his slug of 411. He's making the best zone contact of his career, and he has the highest barrel rate of his career. A guy who's
but like your cosign is perfect here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
There is nothing wrong really with Willie Adames, and I think that he is a perfect. I think too often when I write a weekly buy low article over at Fantasy Pros, and so I fall victim to this. But when we talk about buy lows, we're always looking for the guy who's really, really low.
Yeah. Like the in the tank, just trash, as opposed to somebody who's just like, he's been all right.
Yeah, and I think we do what I talked about with Patrick Davitt on the Baseball HQ podcast a few weeks ago, which is buy a little bit lower. You're not buying low, you're just buying a little bit lower. If I can get a guy who can produce $25 worth of value and I can purchase him for $13 worth of value, that's a big profit. That's way better than buying the guy who's one worth $1 that's going to make $5 or make $7.
Exactly.
Give me the guy who's going to make a lot more value, but you just may have to pay a little bit more for that.
And Adames is just not going to cost you a lot in the market. He's the 18th shortstop because of that batting average, and people get scared by batting averages. So I guarantee the price will be lower. Yeah. Go get yourself some Willie Adames. I'm glad I pivoted there. Let's go to 3 down. And listen, you already gave one a little bit with the Reds hitters, but you do have 3 individual players as well. Don't let anybody say you're too much of a Brandon Marsh fan and you won't be critical of him when it's necessary. He's your number 1 down guy right now. I have to imagine it has a little something to do with his 912 BABIP. But talk to us about Brandon Marsh.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Adames being like one of the unluckiest players in baseball, as much as I love what Brandon Marsh has done for me this year, he has been the luckiest player in baseball. He's got a 402 BABIP, which is just totally bringing up that batting average. His XBA is 222. His batting average is 280.
Oh my God!
He should he's getting extremely lucky.
Okay, let me ask one thing real quick though on Brandon Marsh. Yes, that is through the roof, but how much credence is there to his participation in it with a 10-point jump in hard hit rate? Right, he's smoking the ball more.
It's not even the hard. I mean, the hard hit rate definitely helps, but what it is he's hitting the ball on the ground, which we've talked about. It is easier to hit the ball hard on the ground, like Yandy Diaz, right? For years, he's hitting the ball super hard. He just needs to lift the launch angle. It's not easy to lift the launch. Yeah, it's not easy to lift the launch angle and keep the ball going hard. But what he is doing is he's gone from a guy who last season had an 81% zone contact rate to a guy who now has an 87.5% zone contact rate. This is a huge jump. And when 85% is around league average, you've gone from being a well below average to an above average zone contact guy. He also stopped swinging outside the zone. He's dropped his O swing percentage 5% this year. So while I do think he's going to regress, I think there's going to be some regression.
You
I
don't think
think
Marsh is terrible?
I don't think he's terrible, and I think his defense keeps him in the lineup either
That's
way,
true
right?
too.
I said, I think it was with Patrick when I was on the Baseball HQ. I tend to want to bet on guys who are lucky that are making their own luck, right? He's
Yes,
giving
that's
himself
a
the
good way to put it.
opportunity to get lucky. And I'd rather, like, as opposed to the guy we're going to talk about here, who I also love that we're going to rag on. Like,
I was surprised you showed up when I put him on the list.
I was very angry when you put him on the list, but I understand why, and we're going to talk about why I tend to lean towards you as well. Marsh is giving himself the opportunity to get lucky, whereas Jared Kelnick, who we're going to talk about here in a minute, is not giving himself the opportunity.
It's a great way to put it, and I like that. And so I respect your take on Marsh. You're not even saying necessarily totally get rid of him, but maybe make some contingency plans on batting average because his could go way down. And if you continue to play him because you can use the counting categories, just know that you're probably going to get closer to like a 250 average the rest of the way and could even get worse if he runs into a bad luck streak of batting.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Bryce Elder. And I hate to be the wet blanket here on one of the most fun breakouts of the first half. And, he's a Longhorn as well, so hook 'em horns. But come on, Justin, I can't look at an 82% left on base rate and 273 BABIP and say this is going to hold. Now, he did 54 innings of this last year, too. This is now 160 innings of an 81% left on base and a 271 BABIP for Elder. On some level, if he's going to keep doing it, we're going to end up with him as one of these guys. Your Giants had these type of guys. In fact, they still do. Logan Webb maybe does a little bit of this, where they do enough pitching that they can beat their component numbers because he doesn't have a gaudy strikeout rate. He doesn't even have a great walk rate. 8% is fine for Elder. But it's a 2.97 ERA. I think being a quality sub-3 ERA pitcher on the best team in baseball can get you something in the market. So I do think you can actually sell high here. So I am going to recommend that on Bryce Elder. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know how high you can sell it because everybody's been screaming from the rooftops for months to sell Bryce Elder, and he keeps kind of doing what he's doing.
So you don't think there'll be somebody who would buy, though?
Yeah. You remember, like, we were talking about, like, somebody in the organization, like, hates Vaughn Grisham. Like, Bryce Elder is the reason why, like, Vaughn Grisham's not in the majors. Like, Bryce Elder is giving half of his money to whoever in the front office that keeps Vaughn Grisham down.
Oh, because of the defense.
The defense, like, he's so reliant on that really good defense in Atlanta. I mean, he's got like an almost 60% ground ball rate. He gives up 88, almost 89% zone contact. Like, that's like an obscene amount. Like, especially for his BABIP to be as low as it is. Like, there's got to be regression. The question is to what?
Yes.
I think he's probably a 4 ERA pitcher.
Yep. That's kind of where I'm at.
Like, so if you can, if that isn't viable in your league, like, especially if you're in a 10 or a 12 and, like, you look at guys with 4 ERAs and go, oh, I don't know that I want them on my roster or anywhere near my roster. Like, yes, for sure, try to get something for them. The hard part is, like, I'm in a dynasty league where, and it's not even me, where I had a different guy that I was trying to sell. I can't remember who it was. But somebody in my league has been trying to sell Bryce Elder all fucking year.
Really?
And nobody will take it.
Okay, so maybe no one is interested in.
And that's a 14-team league.
Yeah.
Like,
if you can't sell him in that kind of league.
Like nobody will buy him. Because I think most people, if you're in tune at all, like, you've seen 4 or 5 articles this year and heard 4 or 5 podcasts where someone has told you to sell Bryce Elder.
No, I think that's fair. That's fair.
So
okay, Bryce Elder. That's I'm down on him, and if you can't even sell him, then you just have to ride it out. And here's
ride it out and hope. At least you're gonna get wins because Atlanta's so good. Like,
exactly, and you can ride it out, right? Because you don't have to get rid of him at the first sign of trouble. You can just turn Bryce Elder into a bit more of a team streamer if things really go off the rails. But don't forget what you paid for a guy like this, and don't think, oh my God, I have to get out from under this because it's killing me. You can just change how you view him if things start to go south for Bryce Elder. So yeah, I'm totally fine not worrying too much about having to sell him if no one in my league is buying. So let's talk about your second guy now. And this one, it's Bryce
It's
Elderian.
it's
So
literally just, if you want, you can just rewind about 2 minutes.
it really is.
And
But I love
yeah,
Dane Dunning, dude. So
I
I have
do
to I have to
too.
pretend to be mad at you for this.
But I mean, it's the exact same thing with
It
less
really is.
strikeouts.
Yeah,
Like
no,
it's
it's
like,
unbelievable.
I mean, he has an 89% zone
He makes no
contact.
sense.
I mean, I don't know how he's been doing, especially because like he doesn't even have as big of a ground ball rate as Bryce
Nope.
Elder. Like none of it makes sense. As much as I've loved Dane Dunning in the past, like anything you get for him, get for it. Because like there's got to be regression coming, and I think he is one of those guys that can completely fall apart. Like his xERA is 4.73.
I think
Like
he's
he
better than that, but like, here's the thing: if he pitched like that, Dane Dunning, if he was a 473, like that's not as bad as we think in real life. So it'd still be something where he's
he's
viable
I
in
think he's
real
definitely
life.
one of these guys that is going to pitch his peripherals.
Me
Like he's
too.
not
I agree.
like, but
But nine
like
percent strikeout minus walk is so bad.
yeah, like it's
Like that's so hard to trust.
and like I mean, I think at best he's like a mid to high threes
I think so.
like guy. And at worst, he is a 450 pitcher. Like I mean,
Yep.
last year he was a 446
No,
ERA
yeah,
guy. So
I think upper fours is a risk with Dane Dunning, but
you're talking about a guy who's got, you know, a 263 BABIP when he's a career 302 guy, and a 6.9% home run to fly ball rate, which is nice, but
it
not
is nice.
sustainable.
But it's also, yeah, not at all sustainable. I think that's totally fair with Dane Dunning. Like I said, as much as I want to push back on you, I have to be realistic and understand that you're really not out of pocket for putting him on a
Yeah.
list like this. My next guy is indeed
Speaking
the
of out of
aforementioned
pocket,
Jared Kelenic. Yeah, we both put a player we're fan, the other's a fan of on here. You know, I'm not going to try to gloat in your face about anything. I want Kelenic to be successful, but we are seeing that the early part of the season with the strikeout improvement was maybe just a hot run because he's all the way back up to 33% strikeout rate with a 14% swinging strike rate. WRC plus is down to 113. The composite numbers say you should still be playing him, but if you do the very disappointing from May 1st on, you're going to be wondering, should I have even been playing Kelenic at this point, or did I trust too much of what he did in that April? In April, he put up a 982 OPS from May 1st on. So that's going to be 62 games, 679 with 4 homers and 7 steals, which is only a 10 homer, 18 steal pace. Does Kelenic even need to be rostered in 10s and 12s right now, let alone started? I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic.
I mean, I did drop him in our 12-team Yahoo league that we've got for the sleeper in the bus. So, oh man,
I know, it sucks.
I will say he's hitting 417 in the second half.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. All right, and he's got a stolen base too.
He's popping off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna sort from let's go from June. June was a really bad month for him. Like
June, there was still some goodness in May. June is when Kelenic was really like, oh god, pumpkin.
If you add June and July, he's got an almost 15% swinging strike rate. His zone contact is at 80%, which is not good at all. Swing outside the zone, not a tremendous amount where I'm like super worried about it. I think this is going to be kind of who he kind of is he's going to have really hot months. He's going to have really cold months. And I think he is going to be really frustrating. And so I understand dropping him in 10s and 12s. Like I said, I did in that 112. I've got other 12s where I still have him. And I think it's really dependent on the rest of your roster construction. Like if you have a bunch of volatile guys, that makes him really difficult, right? If you, to continue to roster.
Absolutely.
Would you rather have him or a guy like, I don't know, Alex Call or I can understand making the argument to go a different direction.
Yeah, if you take the names off, Kelenic wouldn't be rostered in anywhere near the amount of leagues that he is, including 56% at Yahoo. All right, your last guy on this list here is one that I understand. In fact, we've already talked about him a bit too. Jack Flaherty. I want to love him because he's been good before, and I really enjoyed peak Jack Flaherty. But I see a 4.29 ERA and a 153 WHIP, Justin, and I think people are letting themselves get bludgeoned by this WHIP way too often. He does have 3 straight quality starts, but at what cost, folks? That cost would actually be a 123 WHIP, which is that on its face isn't terrible, but when it's paired with a 145 ERA, that WHIP is far too high to sustain such a low ERA. I just worry about Jack Flaherty. And also, do you think he gets traded? So talk to us about fading Jack Flaherty.
So, I mean, here's the thing. Flaherty is the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of pitching, right? He has got pretty much half of his starts. He's got 18 starts and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of his starts, he has walked 2 or less.
Okay.
However,
what about the others?
In the other ones, he's got 5 starts where he's walked 5 or more.
Jesus. So this is a volatility thing. So how much room do you allow for Flaherty to maybe be on the other side of this, where you could say, you know what, I ended up being dead wrong. He made a mechanical change and he took off. Do you see that as in the cards potentially? No pun intended. If he makes a change, like we don't know what the change is. It's nebulous, right? We have no idea. But this inconsistency, does that give you any hope that he could flip for Flaherty?
It does, but it also, like, the same amount of hope that he could flip the right way means the same amount of hope he could flip the wrong way.
Crash and walk 5.
He is going to get traded at the deadline.
Has to, right?
Yeah, because he's a free agent. They're done. They don't have all 5 of their starting pitchers are pending free agents, I think.
Yep.
Like
they need for them because that's the reason they suck.
Yeah, exactly. What stadiums could he go to that would be better for him than Busch?
Better?
Or
I'm not
even
sure there are many.
Baltimore?
I think it'd be nice in Baltimore. I think it'd be nice in Tampa Bay.
But are they gonna are either of those teams gonna trade for him? Like, what if he ends up in the Dodgers, which has been like the 3rd or 4th worst stadium for home runs for,
I'm always going to be interested, though. I'm sorry. In Pryor, I trust. And it didn't work with my boy Thor. And it might not work with Flaherty. But if you don't think I would be interested in bidding on Flaherty with the Dodgers, I mean, of course I would. It goes without saying.
I know, but he could really destroy you because he is not.
I know.
He's like given up. His homer per 9 rate is 0.6. Like homers have not been an issue. He ends up in a park that he's going to give up home runs on top of these walks.
With the walks.
And then he's really disastrous.
No, that's very scary. You're not wrong.
And so I don't even know again, we just talked about with sell, or buying low, sometimes you're buying lower. You're not really selling high on Jack Flaherty, but you sell a little higher than maybe he could be
than a bottom out. Yeah.
And
maybe
unfortunately for me, I've got him in a number of spots where it's a no trading league, and I'm just praying he ends up in Baltimore, or praying he ends
Baltimore
up in
would be
Texas.
fun. Baltimore one.
Yeah. Praying he ends up with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay just trade for both Montgomery and Flaherty right now.
Would you even be surprised if they did that trade?
Please do.
Curtis Mead for both of them or something. I know they don't need first base and saying I don't even know what they need, but a prospect would be different than getting a major leaguer at outfielder first
pitching.
base.
They need pitching.
They do need pitching, but Rays
Tampa
could
Bay
give some prospect
pitching.
They could give some prospect pitching. I'm sure there's some appealing guys that the team would take. I mean, you're not going to trade Taj, so you're going to have to jump deeper than that. Mason Montgomery and something. I don't know. But there could be some trades out there. But I agree with you on being leery of Flaherty. I'm very leery of somebody walking that many guys as often as it happens for him. My last guy before we get out of here, Josh Naylor. Tough to be hating on a guy I like. I was big on him last year. He panned out beautifully. Dude is like an RBI machine. I don't buy it. He has 69 ribs on the year. He's 10 away from his entire total from last year. Only scored 37 runs because the team doesn't support him there. I just think he's cashing in his opportunities beautifully, and I respect that. But to keep up at that sort of rate is really, really hard to do when the offense isn't that great. Now, they've been better of late. So that's a positive for Josh Naylor. But I don't think that he can maintain being the number 5 first baseman, Justin. I don't know if you knew that Naylor's 5th among first base. I think he can be a top 20 guy the rest of the way, which will give him some 15-team viability, maybe some 12-team streaming ability here and there. But I'm trying to get out from under a potential RBI collapse here because he only has 13 homers, which is fine. He does have a 310 average, which is good. That's legitimately good. There are positives here with Naylor, but I think if I can cash him in a deal where it's like a 2-for-1 and I consolidate my Naylor and a pitcher into Pete Alonso or something, I would want to do that. The pitcher would have to be pretty good to do that, I understand. But 13 homers, 6 steals, 69 ribs, 310 average. There's a lot of good there for Naylor. I'm nervous because the ribbies are driving so much. I actually believe in the power he's showing. I believe in the batting average to a degree. 332 BABIP is pretty high, but I think he can be like a 280 hitter. I don't think the runs and ribbies are going to be there, so I would want to try to trade Josh Naylor.
I think you're wrong. I mean, I understand the premise, and I don't disagree with the premise, but I don't think he's a sell. I think if anything, he's a hold or a buy. If someone wanted to sell Josh Naylor because they think the RBIs are going to fall off, fine. Give me 15 home runs the rest of the way, 5 stolen bases, and a 300 batting average. Because everything he's doing is legitimate. He's got an over 90% zone contact from a power hitter that is insanely good. His XBA is still above 300. Yes, he's definitely going to regress in the RBI department, but the rest of it's so good I don't care. He's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna fall off completely. They'll still, the Guardians always figure out ways to make things work.
They're playing a lot better of late. They're playing a lot better. I want to be clear on that. That the offense is going to be. You know what? I'm gonna 100% flip here. You sold me.
Yeah,
I can't hate on a guy I've loved. I was worried about the RBI thing so much that I kind of lost the forest for the trees because I didn't realize everything else is on point. You mentioned the 6 steals. He got 6 steals at first base. Yeah, I don't want to be associated with this. I don't be down on Naylor.
I think you can buy high on him right now.
I don't think too.
I don't think anybody's looking at 13 home runs and going, "Oh, this guy is making my team." But
unless they know everything. He's 5th at first, I agree with you that you can buy. People aren't going to be trying to charge.
I think people are going to try to sell high, and I don't think they should. I think this is a really good opportunity to buy a guy. Yeah, he's not going to be the 5th first baseman rest of the way, but he's going to be top 10. I think. I don't
want to co-sign. I don't want to co-sign being out on Naylor.
And he's got legit 70 grade power in that bat. He hasn't untapped it completely yet. But if he hit 20 rest of the way, I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't either. And he's such a lunatic. And I say that in a positive way. I love his energy and his hype.
And a negative way.
It can be negative.
He stabbed the guy.
Didn't he stab himself?
No, he stabbed a teammate.
He did?
Yeah.
I thought he stabbed himself by accident. Yeah,
no,
he's crazy.
He stabbed the teammate.
Well, then I don't want to be caught saying anything negative about him.
No. Maybe should I take this part out of the podcast?
Well, me as Michael J. Govier, I will swear that I don't want to say anything bad about him. But if you need to come get anybody, my name's Michael J. Govier. I'm sorry about it. I don't know why I'm throwing Mike under the bus. That was the first fantasy. The best person in the community I fucking throw under the bus immediately. No, but
and he lives in Detroit, which isn't that far,
which is Cleveland. Relatively close. Oh my God, no.
You could have easily picked Alex Chamberlain and been he's in Hawaii,
Naylor ain't getting to Hawaii to go get Chamberlain. No. But seriously, I don't want to be thinking that I'm out on him. I'm staying in. I'm gonna go Isaac Paredes real quick. He's been fine, and there is positives there. But I think you can actually sell high on him because Tampa Bay guys have a higher price in the market. Everyone wants Tampa Bay guys. You'll find somebody who's interested. I think you can sell high. This one isn't an aggro hate where I think he's going to melt, but a 140 OPS plus, I don't really believe that. I don't believe that he's this good. So again, not selling Josh Naylor. I'm intrigued about selling high on Paredes. This is less of a flop and more of a cash in at a great moment because he has 9 homers in his last 32 games. I think you could cash in big on Paredes. He's a triple eligible guy. Now, if you need his Swiss Army knife play, don't get rid of him. But if you're riding high in offense and you need pitching, I bet you can get a legit arm for Isaac Paredes right now.
I think he's pretty much the exact same analysis that I did on Brandon Marsh. Is kind of what it is for Isaac Paredes. He's high contact, 91% zone contact.
Love that.
Amazing.
Power potential.
but he's also getting extremely lucky. His XBA is 217. Like someone in my chat like asked me about him, and I said like at some point the luck has to run out. I'm just for my own sake, because I've got Paredes on a bunch of teams, including ones where I'm doing really, really well. I'm really just hoping it runs out next year because
let it last the rest of this year. He can
let it keep going because but I do feel like he's put himself in the position to get lucky because he makes so much contact and
has great plate skills.
Yeah.
But this isn't a must sell. I want to be clear here because I'm not saying you have to get rid of him. This is a cash in where I think you can get a real premium for Isaac Paredes. I think you can go out and get somebody like, I don't know, Tarek Skubal. And I think I'd be interested in something like that.
Yeah, a Skubal-esque player. Like, so his slugging is 502. His X slug 354.
What?
Like he is being one of the luckiest players in baseball. And like I said, I'm just hoping he keeps it going. Like I just keep it going because I mean
there are good elements here. There really are, and that's why I want to
just 6% barrel rate. Like it's like that's
he only has a
good.
29% hard hit rate for Isaac Paredes.
Yeah,
wow. Yeah, so I'm selling high on him. I really do think his pull power. You remember we've talked about this with like Bregman and Altuve in the past, and we thought maybe Abreu could do that this year. He takes advantage of that. Paredes does. Like he rips it down the line.
54% pull.
So he doesn't have like lengthy homers, but it gets the job done, and he takes advantage of his park. They have a little jut out there too, where you can get a low line drive to be a homer. So again, this isn't he's going to fall off the face of the earth. But if you need a big arm, and I do think Skubal could be that big arm, I think maybe you could go out and get a Brian Bayo, a Freddie Peralta, maybe even get like a Brian Wu discussion going. I think you can get like a name, like a strong arm and sell Paredes. But I want to reiterate once more, I'm not out on Josh Naylor. You sold me completely. I was way over the top there by just hating on his RBIs. But
that's why I love having these discussions.
Me too, because they make you reconsider things. Because I was just focused on the RBIs. You're like, he nails every other category, bro. You cannot do that. So I'm with that. But anyway, we got to get going. I have to pee very badly. I have the bladder of an ant. So once we get an hour and a half going, your boy is
and I'm sure my children have destroyed things at this point.
The house is a mess. But Justin, thanks so much for making time on a Tuesday. We'll be back on Friday talking more baseball stuff, and have a good rest of your week.
Take it easy.